6-point win for the Wizards. And look, a great win for the Wiz. If you're sitting there with the Sixers, I don't know if there is a more frustrating team in kind of the way their season has developed, because, look, they're in a pretty good spot. But for Joel Embiid, regardless of the stats he had up tonight, it wasn't in a win.
Coach mentioned something about the second night of a back-to-back, you guys just not faring well on those. Do you think that's why?
That's not an excuse. Like I always say, we're professional. We should take care of business whenever we're on the basketball court, sometimes off the court too. So that shouldn't be an excuse. We should always come out and be ready.
You're down 26 there in the third, but you get it to, I think, 12. Is there a sense that, okay, we got enough in us to get it done?
Yeah, I mean, ain't that why we play? We're not just going to lay down. We're going to keep battling until the end of the game. I think we did a good job of that. They beat us. It is what it is.
Biggest thing you want to take away from this and put into Friday's game against Atlanta?
Don't lose.
Well, clearly a salty Jimmy Butler after the loss. Joel Embiid saying back-to-backs aren't an excuse. Smitty, the Sixers' talent level in the upper echelon, the top tier, the big three, certainly is there. JJ's had a great season. They've had guys step up. How do you get from what we're seeing now to a team that can make a difference in the playoffs? Because I don't know about you, not many people right now look at this team and say, they can have the continuity it would take to make a run in a postseason.
You know, I go back to what I said earlier. When you have back-to-backs and great teams, sometimes you don't have it, whether it's a back-to-back or a individual game. It doesn't have to be where you can lean on your bench and know these guys will come in and give energy. And sometimes they give energy and stats, and they play better in the first unit. I look at the Sixers' depth right now is they don't have a guy that we're saying, when he comes off the bench like Bellinelli and Ilyasova last year, what they were going to bring. And sometimes it wasn't scoring for Ilyasova, just the little things. They're missing that. And I also want to go back to, I love Ben Simmons as a point guard, handling the ball. But when you need to get some defensive stops, who's going to put pressure on the basketball from an outside other than Jimmy Butler? J.J. Redick has improved, but a lot of times, even in the Boston Celtics game, because he's in the starting lineup, he's matched up with Kyrie. That's just not a favorable matchup for the Philadelphia 76ers. The same thing when you look today, they need somebody that can put some pressure on the ball in that first unit, and that's why I think you're going to have to move Ben Simmons to the 4 and let him exclusively play the 4. He can handle the basketball, G, but you're going to need some 3 small guys that can defend with Jimmy Butler.
Grant, Joel Embiid obviously was not happy with the way he was being used, and Jimmy Butler wasn't happy, but I'm not going to say he was happy. Butler was out and ill a couple of games, but Embiid had a huge week last week. Jimmy didn't play every game. He averaged 30-plus. He wins Player of the Week, has 35 tonight. Are you seeing an Embiid that's a better version the last couple of weeks? Because last year when you look at this team, and look, Ben Simmons Rookie of the Year and deserved it, but Embiid was becoming a star, and this year's been more about all the things that he's been talking about that he's not able to do that he would like to.
Well, I mean, look, he's as good as any big guy, maybe the best big guy, although Jokic might disagree with that different style of play. But his dominance down there on the block, when he's motivated, when he gets touches, he's engaged, he really can't be stopped down there. But, you know, I think there's some frustration going on there. There's a little bit of tension in that locker room. I think it's identifying roles. You have Simmons, who had a really good year last year, Rookie of the Year. Embiid has gotten better. Now you insert, you know, Jimmy Butler into the equation, and then you get rid of some of those complementary pieces that Smitty talked about. And it's a different team, a little bit like what Boston's going through. And it's a little bit similar in terms of struggling, not meeting those expectations. But people grumbling about usage and roles and shots. And so it's going to take some time, I think, to figure that out. And then, you know, if it doesn't happen, then, you've kind of went all in on this Jimmy Butler situation. You have to make that happen. You have to make it work and go for it this season. But you have some young players. I think you're managing expectations. You know, this team this time last year was outside of the playoffs. They weren't even in the playoff picture. Had a great run at the end of the season and a nice run in the playoffs. And now you're dealing now with these sort of, unrealistic expectations. And I just think it's part of the process of learning how to become a good team, learning how to fit in now with new players. And it's going to take some time. I know everyone doesn't want to hear that, but I just think it is.
And we thought the process was over. You used the word, and rightfully so.